Hello, this is Lisa again, and we're taking a deep dive into the wealth mindset. This is part 5 of our 8-part series. 8 top things that you must stop doing now to unlock your wealth potential. So we're on number 5. What's number 5? Number 5 is probably my personal most difficult one. Stop thinking you know everything. Yeah, I said it. I was a smarty pants all of my life. Yes, I was smart. I can brag about that. My mom gave me the confidence to know I was smart. I tested gifted in grammar school. I went into the International Baccalaureate program, which was the top 1 percentile in the whole city. Could only get into that program. You had to test into it. I got into that program and still graduated high school in 3 years. I went to college, got my bachelor's degree in 3 years. Got my master's degree, got my MBA. I mean, look, I was doing it. And so, I thought I knew it all, right? And then got into a job using all of that I know everything skill. Got my master's degree. I'm like, hey, I got my master's now. Give me a raise. Killing it. I know everything. And you know what they said? Well, they said, sorry, a master's isn't required for this job. So that's not a basis, unfortunately, that I can get you approved for a raise. All that being smart, all that thinking I had it all figured out, down the tubes, right? But I wasn't discouraged, just a little bit. In fact, I was encouraged to leave them and start my own business, where my knowing everything continued. Here is why it doesn't work. I had to realize that oftentimes I didn't get help and I didn't give other people tasks to do because I felt like I can do it better myself. I was missing the whole point. When you think that you have to do everything because you can do it the best, somebody who may not be able to do it as good as you can do it, those are hours wasted because they could have been helping you and you could have been putting your energy on something that was even more important for you to do. When you get delusional with that mindset, it's like you think that, well, by the time I train this person to do this function, I could have got it done 2 times faster. So why am I taking this extra time to train this person? Do you know why you take the extra time to train that person? Because once that person gets good at it, you train them enough to have that skill, you can give that away to someone else. Imagine the madness of having to keep every function to yourself. As a small business owner, as an entrepreneur, you can't afford that because the things that require a higher level of thinking, you have to have the time to do those things. But if you're keeping every little function to yourself because you think you can do it better, you don't even understand the amount of time that is going to take. The 30 minutes it took them to do it versus my 15, I'd rather keep my 15 minutes and let the other person work it out for the 30. And guess what? If they make a mistake, you teach them how to do it correctly so they don't make the mistake next time. You can't think that you can do everything effectively. As an entrepreneur, you're going to already have to wear so many different hats just by nature of being an entrepreneur. Because starting out, you can't afford every single position that you need, right? So that means you're going to have to be the bookkeeper for a while. You might have to be the accountant for a while. You might have to be the salesperson for a while. You might have to be the marketer, and you might have to be the person that creates all your documents. And oh my goodness, the list of things that you have to do can go on and on and on. You have to know when to give some things up, because you can't keep all of those things for yourself. And so part of what you have to do in that is take an honest assessment of yourself and your skills. In business school, it was called a SWOT analysis. Strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. You had to analyze anything that you was doing in terms of what the strengths were in what you were doing, what the weaknesses were, what the opportunities were, and what the threats are. You have to be honest with yourself about what your strengths are. Because the things that are not your strength, give it away. Get someone else who has those strengths. Because you need to preserve your energy for the threats that you're going to have to face. You have to preserve your energy to attack those different opportunities that's coming. You also have to know your weaknesses. Because you may want to keep the things you're really, really strong at. But the things that you're really, really weak at, give that up. But if you're not honest with yourself about it, how in the world are you going to do that? So it starts with taking an honest assessment of who you are, what you're good at, what are your areas of expertise. And whatever areas of expertise aren't yours, find someone else. So for me, when I had to reckon with myself and realize I didn't know everything, I looked up and I had spent so much money doing things that probably were missteps. But because I thought I was smart enough to figure out everything, boy, figuring out stuff cost thousands of dollars. Different solutions that I thought might be the solution. So I paid money and I tried it, and it wasn't it. By the time you do that a few times, you would have been better served going to an expert and saying, hey, I need to pay you to help me develop this plan. I need for you to help me understand how I should do this, because guess what? I don't know, or I'm not sure. One of the examples I can best give is I have 2 marketing degrees, but my marketing degree was decades ago, okay? Marketing now is completely different. And it took me a long time to admit that I'm not as good at modern day marketing as I was at marketing when I came out of school and got my degree. They're teaching different stuff now. You got social media and online selling. And I was used to just face-to-face, one-on-one selling. Now I have to go and recreate that same magic in the online environment that I had one-to-one. It's different marketing. But if I didn't take the time to say, hey, things have changed. I'm not as good at it as I used to be. Yeah, that doesn't feel good to admit that you don't know everything. Okay? Doesn't feel good to admit that you're wrong. Doesn't feel good to admit that you need to change some stuff up. Doesn't feel good to admit you're getting a little older and you need to refresh, what you're doing and how you're doing it. But guess what? That is what leads to success. As I said in a previous episode, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. This old dog is learning some new tricks. So I'm not going to stay in that place where I think that I got it all figured out. You don't want to expose your weak spots. And I liken it to a newborn baby, right? They come home and they got that soft spot in the middle of their head. Let you come visit that baby and want to touch their soft spot. That parent is going to lose it. Don't touch the soft spot. Because it is soft. You have to be careful with it. Okay? You have to be careful exposing it. It's the same thing with you. You have a soft spot. You have to protect that soft spot. Don't be exposed by sitting there letting your soft spot hang out. Everybody can just poke you in it. No. You gotta bear down, tighten up, protect, get help. Secure that soft spot because you have a soft spot. You gotta know what that is so you can protect it. You protect it by getting other people and other resources and other things to come in to strengthen it. You can't just let it be solved. So unless you reckon with yourself, much like I had to reckon with myself, okay, you're not going to make this change. And if you want to be wealthy, if you want to go on this path to wealth, man, you got to strengthen up. You can't afford to leave yourself exposed. You can't afford to keep thinking that you can do everything yourself and think you're going to reach the top of the mountain. Oh no. Somebody else better be climbing with you. You need a team. Matter of fact, we're going to talk about that in one of the next episodes. You need other help and support. You alone cannot do it. Stop trying. Make sure that you get some help to get to where you're trying to go.